Hi everyone, welcome to episode 12 of my chess rating climb. Let's see if we can get the win in today's game. Okay, we got the white pieces, we'll start with e4. Okay, we got a king pawns game. We'll see if we can go into the Scotch here. Okay, so we have a Petrov defense. Now, I know that the main line is to take this pawn, and then when they take our pawn in response, it goes into like a bunch of theory. However, I'll be honest, I'm not really brushed up on my Petrov theory, so instead I think I'm going to transpose into a 4-knight Scotch. And actually, the next lesson that I have with my coach, I'm scheduled to review the Petrov theory. So if we ever get this line again, I will probably be taking the pawn, but right now, since I'm not brushed up on the theory, we're just going to leave it. Okay, so here we do go into a 4-knight Scotch, pushing d4. And if they take my pawn, I'm happy to take back with the knight. Yep. Okay, so this is all going according to plan. Everything's nice and protected. Later, I might have ideas of pushing f3, developing the bishop and castling queenside. Okay, so they develop the bishop and attack my knight, and I'm pretty sure I can just defend my knight with my bishop. Not a problem, if I can draw arrows, yeah. And if they're not careful, they'll actually lose a piece, because I'm threatening to take this knight, hitting their queen, and then after they take my knight, then their bishop falls. So they will have to be careful about this. My opponent is taking their sweet time. We're only on turn 6 and he's already down to 11 minutes. Okay, so he does finally take the bishop. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, yeah, the only move is to take the bishop back, obviously. Okay, so I think here, I don't want to take his knight, because then that just helps him activate his pieces. Okay, pushing e5 doesn't work, because then he just takes with his pawn. Let's see here. I could pin his knight, and then he probably just alleviates the pin with the bishop. Or I could slide my queen up in preparation to castle. And that actually looks really good. Granted, it would lose a bit of a tempo if he takes my bishop and I end up having to move my queen twice to capture back. But I still think I'm pretty okay with that, because I have a centralized queen ready to attack his uncastled king, and all of my pieces are active. Okay, yeah, so let's slide the queen up. Probably castle on the next turn. I'm anticipating castles, at which point I'll castle, and we'll have an opposite side castling game. Okay, that doesn't really worry me. He plays bishop e6. Yeah, I suppose that really is the only square that his bishop could move to. Let's see, I could either castle, or I could develop my bishop and pin his knight to his king. And if he wants to alleviate the pin, then he has to spend another tempo moving his bishop back. Or alternatively, he could just castle, and I could take his knight and double his pawns, possibly. Yeah, let's actually just go ahead and castle. That's probably the most accurate. And since I have this battery with my queen and my rook, it seems like I might have ideas of applying pressure to this d-pawn and winning his d-pawn later. Okay, so he finally makes a move. Okay, so he castles. Now, let's see. I'm actually thinking about queen f4 here. Right? I'm thinking about queen f4. If he takes my bishop with his knight, I'm happy to take back with the rook. Okay, but the idea behind queen f4 is I want to apply pressure to both his d-pawn and his knight, and also x-ray my rook against his queen. Okay, because right now, let's say I move my bishop out of the way, his d-pawn is not pinned to his queen, but I'd like to introduce a pin on his d-pawn eventually so that I can hopefully win at least a pawn. Okay, let's see. What if I go queen f4, and then he tempos my queen with the knight? I could then just slide my queen back to f3, at which point he couldn't attack it again with the knight, and he can't win a tempo with the bishop either, because that square is not protected. Yeah, I really like that. Yep, that's the plan. Actually, though, now that I say that, it might actually be better just to develop my pieces. Actually, yeah, I actually prefer that. So let's actually develop my bishop. Yeah, let's develop my bishop to e2. Guard these squares that the knight could jump to essentially dominate the knight's position. Then later, I might have ideas of queen f4. Also, the reason that I hesitated against bishop b5 on the previous move is because I don't really want to trade off my bishop for the knight anyway, because I have the bishop here and I'd rather not concede that. Plus, I also don't want to open up the b file for the rook and, give my opponent unnecessary attacking chances. Okay, so I think queen f4 is the play. I think with a6, he's obviously trying to start a queenside expansion, but I'm not too worried about that because I can just move my knight out of the way. That's not a problem. So yeah, I think queen f4 is the move. Yeah, and then later, I really, really want to play e5 on the next move, if my opponent doesn't prevent it somehow. Okay. All right, so I actually didn't anticipate that. So he alleviates the pin on his queen. So now e5 doesn't look nearly as attractive because that square is guarded 1, 2, 3 times and only defended twice, obviously. So now it seems like his g-pawn is loose, though. Can I attack? Okay. Surely I must have some tactics, because I can align my queen and my bishop to attack this weak pawn. So right now, this knight is attacking my bishop, so if I were to move my queen back, he could just trade off his knight for the bishop. Can I sacrifice my bishop? Do I have any sacrificing ideas? Let's see. So take, and then any other checks that I could deliver. If I go here, then he slides his king back. Yeah, I don't think I have enough pieces in the attack right now. Oh, but what I can do, what happens if I offer a bishop trade here? If he accepts the trade, and I move my queen over to g4, that introduces a new checkmate threat, and then I might be able to get my queen onto h6 to checkmate on the g7 square. The problem, though, is that if he ever trades his knight for my bishop, it kind of neutralizes my entire attack. Let's see, can I push e5 anyway? Let's see, if I push e5, because his knight will eventually be pinned to his queen if he ever moves his pawn, right? So if I push e5, oh no, that definitely doesn't work. Okay, here's the problem. If I push e5, he takes the pawn with my pawn, I take with the bishop, then if he takes the knight, it doesn't matter that his knight is pinned to his queen because my queen is what's attacking his knight, and then he takes my queen with his knight, and it's just an even exchange. Or actually, I would actually be down a piece. I would be down a bishop in that line. Yeah, so that doesn't work. I do like trading off bishops, though. Really, that's very interesting. Okay, I didn't anticipate that. I would have expected him to either trade bishops or just make another improving move. Okay, so can I just take here? He takes with the pawn. No. Okay, I take. He takes with the knight. I take his bishop. He takes with the pawn and reveals an attack on my queen. And it's just an even exchange. Yeah, I think I have to take this knight. I mean, I either need to take this knight or take this bishop, or move my bishop out of the way. One of those three. Because this bishop is currently hanging. Yeah, I think I need to exploit this pin a little bit. Yeah, so let's go ahead and snap this knight off. Let's see, if he takes back with the knight, what am I going to do? I don't think he can take back with the pawn, because then I take his queen, he takes my queen, I take his rook, he takes the rook. Actually, no, that's just an even exchange. He can take with the pawn. Okay, so he does take with the knight. Right now, my bishop is still hanging. Okay, so if I take his bishop, and he takes back with the pawn, that reveals an attack on my queen, and I have to move it. That's not necessarily a problem, but it does kind of neutralize my attack a little bit. Okay, so let's say takes, and then I would probably just move my queen, to g3? To get it out of the way of the knight and also protect my f-pawn. Okay, so take, queen g3. I might still have ideas of like queen f4, or not queen f4, but pawn f4 to kick out the knight, and then e5 to add more pressure to this pinned d-pawn, possibly. Let's see, do I have anything better though? I have to either take his bishop or move my bishop. Those are the only two options. Yeah, I think taking his bishop is best. God, I hate that I'm helping him activate his pieces though, because that wins a free tempo on my queen and also activates his rook. I don't see a better option though. Like, where else can I move my bishop that would be more active, right? I guess I could move it up to f5, bishop f5, but then he just pushes his pawn, and that just encourages me to take his bishop anyway. Yeah, I can't see anything better. In the interest of time, I just got to trade pieces. He's going to take with his pawn, and then I'll play queen g3. Okay, so he plays queen f6 to form a battery and also hit my pawn. I'm pretty sure I can just form a pawn chain, though. Yeah, I don't see any reason why I can't do that. Just form a pawn chain. Also allowing my queen to escape out this way. So, this looks like a pretty even game. I do definitely have the time advantage, but unfortunately it doesn't really look like I have any attack anywhere, so it looks like we'll either draw this game or I'll just have to patiently wait for my opponent to make a mistake. Okay, so he plays b5, presumably because he wants to kick my knight on the next turn. Not really afraid of that. I think I should just be able to double up my rooks, right? Yeah, the problem is, if I try to double up my rooks, like let's say I bring my rook to d2, he could just win a tempo on my rook with his knight. Oh gosh, how do I make progress here? How do I make progress? Can I just push a3 as a prophylactic move? Just to stop b4 in the first place? Yeah, I think that actually looks good. Yeah, because I'm not at risk of opening his a file because he still has his a pawn. So yeah, a3 looks good. My opponent's got less than a minute left. I have no idea why he's playing so slowly. Interesting. Okay, so he delivers the check with the queen. I can't block with the pawn. Yeah, I can't block with anything. The only piece that I could block with is the pawn, and that just straight up loses a pawn. So yeah, I don't want to pin with the rook, especially considering that he could add another attacker to the pin piece with his knight. So yeah, we just gotta move the king out of the way. So he's threatening to check here. I kind of wanted to move my queen to f2 anyway. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Move my queen to f2. Just get it on a slightly more active square. That way we can, protect any checks here. Yeah, this is really weird that my opponent is playing so slowly. Like, it's a 15-minute game with a 10-second increment, and he's still not making any moves. Okay, so he offers a queen trade. Do I accept that queen trade? Yeah, in the interest of time, I think I might have to. Okay, so he's attacking my rook. And also this pawn. So now I can just move my rook up to save my rook and the pawn. And actually, I was about to say I might be able to set up a baby trap. Let's say if he didn't move his knight, I could push b3 and threaten to trap his knight on the next turn. But he didn't do that, so now I gotta slide my rook over. Okay, let's slide it here. And if I push e5, he just pushes d5, and that doesn't work. Okay. Can I push h4? That would essentially force a pawn trade, because there's no way for him to simultaneously protect the pawn and save the pawn in a way that allows him to keep the pawn. Actually, no. Now here's what we're going to do. I'm going to reroute my knight, because my knight's on a pretty bad square right now. It doesn't have anywhere to go. So I'm going to reroute my knight here, then here to offer a knight trade, and then hopefully I'll be able to at least draw a rook and pawn endgame. Yep, so we're going to offer the knight trade. And since my opponent's under such time pressure, maybe he'll just make a mistake, because he only has a few seconds left. Okay. Yeah, I think now it's h4 time. Just to force the issue here. Because surely, if I can isolate some of his pawns, I might be able to win this. Alright. So now, do I push f 4. No, I don't, because that loses the pawn. Yeah, I think I can just take his g-pawn. Okay. So do I push my h-pawn? I could offer a rook trade, possibly get my knight to a more active square. Yeah, I think pushing my h-pawn is a little bit premature, because I only have one rook supporting it. Okay. Yeah, I think I just got to offer a trade here. Okay, let's see. I just realized my h-pawn's a little bit loose. I don't know if I'll be able to protect it. Let's see here. Okay, interesting. Don't think that really does much of anything. Let's see. I can ask him to take my a-pawn, which drops his knight. So now I can take his a-pawn here. And now his b-pawn is loose, I think. Let's see, so can I push my b-pawn? Yes, I think I can. Now his knight has nowhere to go. His knight has nowhere good to go anyway. And then I'll be able to take his b-pawn on the next turn. Okay. Yep, let's go ahead and do that. Let's see, is there any way I can just get behind my h-pawn with my rook and just start pushing it? Or just get my rook to the to either the open f file or the a file? I don't know, we'll see. Okay. Yeah, I think he messed up. He doesn't have a way to stop my passed pawn now. He should have blockaded the pawn with his king. Okay, but now, let's see. Can I just move here and here? I don't see why not. I'll be honest, I have no idea what that rook move accomplished. So now we go here. Okay, only move is there. Okay, yep, so here's the plan. I move my knight here. I move my knight here, check the king, then promote. Okay, and now he's lost a piece because I can fork his rook and his knight. Oh, what am I doing? Okay, this is still winning, that's fine. Okay, so now I can just take his rook, and now I've won a knight, and I'll just be able to use my knight to gobble up his pawns. Okay, fine. So he obviously has to take, then I'll take his knight, and then... Yeah, okay. So he saw the writing on the wall. I actually didn't realize that that he was getting my... Why can't I draw arrows? Okay, yeah, I didn't realize that he was getting his rook over to eat my pawn, but that doesn't matter because I had this fork on his rook and his knight anyway. Okay. So, definitely a really interesting game. Oh my god, would you look at this graph? Okay, yeah, let's go over the review mode here. Oh my word, look at that graph. I just gave black an incredible advantage somewhere, and my opponent failed to punish me for it. And then I gave them an advantage again, and then my opponent failed to punish me again. Oh my gosh, look at this. Mate in 2, mate in 3. I gave them mate in 3, and then I gave them mate in 4 on the next turn. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, we'll definitely have to take a look at that. Okay, so this is all book. We're in a 4-night scotch, not a problem. Okay, yeah, so bringing my queen up was best. That's good. Okay, this is all fine. Okay, so that's... I was at a slight advantage, and I balanced the position with queen at 4. Okay, so if I move there, Then he takes here, I take back. And it looks like it's just a positional advantage. It's not like I'm immediately losing any kind of material or anything. Okay. There. Okay, so this is all fine. I really want to know where my huge mistake was, though. Where did I mess up? What in the world? Where in the world did I give him checkmate? Okay, so right there. Why is that such a blunder? Why in the world is that such a blunder? Okay, so it goes here. And then what am I supposed to do? King here. There. Oh, okay, and then he wins my rook. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so that was a blunder because he had a tactic to like corner my king in such a way that he could get my knight to fork my king and my rook. Okay, yeah, I definitely didn't see that. But there was like mate and 2 and mate and 4 somewhere in the game review. What in the world? Okay, so right there. He has mate and 2. Let's see, there. And that's checkmate. Oh my gosh. I cannot believe I didn't see that. Because the knight's controlling the escape squares. And the rook's protected by the pawn. Wow. Geez, way to throw that game. Good thing my opponent missed it. And I actually... Let's see, my opponent actually missed it twice. Yep. And then I go here, and he still has mate on the table. That's crazy. And then he made it an even game there, and then I threw checkmate again. That's crazy. Oh my gosh, because my king is cornered. My king has nowhere to go. Because it's cut off on this file. Like my king's restricted to the A file here, and my opponent just failed to punish me for it. That's wild. Yep, and then there was a mistake. Allowing promotion. Wow. Cannot believe that. Oh my gosh. Okay. So my idea was, like earlier in this pawn endgame, I was trying to bring my king around to eat some of these pawns over here, right? But the fact that he was able to slide his rook over and prevent my king, like hinder my king's mobility, that's what cost me the game. He just didn't see it. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, yeah, definitely need to learn from that mistake. But we got the win regardless, and thank you guys for watching episode 12, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for episode 13. Bye.